This is the story of a woman who found love online and a man who was never real. It started with a single message, a message that would change everything. Her name was Liliana, 45 years old, a mother, a survivor. For 4 years, she had been alone, by choice, by pain. She had survived a marriage that nearly broke her. Her children had begged her to leave, and she finally did. She built a quiet life, safe, careful, alone. But somewhere out there, someone was watching, waiting. He called himself Lucas, but Lucas didn't exist. This is the face behind Lucas. Liliana was born in Mexico, raised on resilience and faith. Years ago, she moved to Dallas, Texas, chasing a better life for her children. She married young. She believed in forever. But forever turned into something else, something dark. Years of humiliation, years of abuse, hidden behind closed doors. It was her children who saw it first, and who said enough. They urged her to file for divorce, to choose herself, finally. So she did. After everything, she chose freedom. She rebuilt her life from nothing. Slowly, carefully, for 4 years, she stayed single. Not out of fear, but out of caution. Her children became her world, her reason to keep going. But there were nights the silence felt too loud. She missed being seen, being chosen, being loved. So, like millions of others, she turned to her phone for connection. A place to feel less alone, even for a moment. Friends told her it was time to open her heart again. She wasn't looking for anything serious, just connection. She never imagined danger could arrive disguised as kindness. Somewhere, a predator was already choosing his next target. Thousands of miles away, a stranger built a fake identity, piece by piece. He stole a stranger's face, a stranger's name, a stranger's life. He called himself Lucas. Charming, successful, from Utah. And then, one evening, he found her. A message appeared. Simple, friendly, innocent. She had no idea this was the beginning of the end of her peace. His photo showed a handsome, confident man. Kind eyes, easy smile. She stared at his picture longer than she meant to. Something about him felt different, familiar somehow. So she wrote back. Just a simple hello. And just like that, a conversation began. He was funny, attentive. He asked about her day. On the other end, a script was being followed. Practiced, perfected. Her children had no idea a stranger had entered her world. For the first time in years, she felt something like hope. Within days, they moved their conversation to WhatsApp. Numbers were exchanged. The conversation deepened. He sent voice notes, warm, reassuring, convincing. She listened to his voice like it was medicine for old wounds. Late nights turned into long conversations about life, love, and loss. He told her stories, sad ones designed to earn her trust. She listened with an open heart, the way she always had. Weeks passed. Their bond, at least to her, felt real. She told a friend about him. He seems too good to be true, her friend warned. But Liliana believed she'd finally found someone genuine. She had no idea how far this story was about to go. One night, Lucas said the words she hadn't heard in years. He told her she was extraordinary, that her soul had drawn him in. For a woman who had been broken down for so long, those words meant everything. He said he wanted something real, a future, a partnership. And despite everything she'd been through, she let herself dream again. She said yes, they were officially together, at least in her heart. One side of this story was full of hope, the other full of calculation. She told her children. They were happy to see her smile again. But her eldest son couldn't shake a quiet unease. Strangely, video calls never quite worked. There was always an excuse. He was overseas for work, he said. Somewhere with poor signal. She didn't question it. Why would she? He was too kind to lie. He spoke of gifts he wanted to send her, tokens of his love. Weeks turned into 2 months of what felt like a real relationship. 2 months in, she felt like the luckiest woman alive. Then, one ordinary evening, everything shifted. He told her he was in trouble, that he needed help. A financial emergency, he said. Something urgent, something important. Her heart ached. Everything in her wanted to help the man she loved. She hesitated for only a moment, and then she sent it. Because love, she believed, meant showing up. On the other end, the money landed exactly where it was meant to. He thanked her with words so sweet, she felt more loved than ever. She had no idea she had just taken the first step into a trap. It was only the beginning of what would become 2 long years. The requests came again. And again, each one a little easier to say yes to. Slowly, quietly, her savings began to disappear. She started making excuses, small lies to protect a love she believed was real. Without realizing it, she was slipping further from the people who loved her most. Because Liliana was never the only one. She was just one of many. 2 years is a long time to live inside someone else's lie. There was always another crisis, another reason he needed her help. She dipped into savings she had spent decades building. She started missing family dinners, distracted by a relationship no one else could see. Her children noticed the distance, but she brushed off their concern. "You don't understand him like I do," she told them. Deep down, some nights, doubt crept in. She almost asked to see his face. Almost. But he always had the perfect words to smooth over her doubts. And every time she chose to believe him. Transfer after transfer. Thousands turning into tens of thousands. She started selling things. Small sacrifices, she told herself, for someone she loved. Her son began noticing strange, recurring wire transfers. He'd read about scams like this before, and a cold feeling settled in his chest. 2 realities, existing under the very same roof. When he brought it up gently, she got defensive. "You don't know him," she said. The family walked on eggshells, unsure how to reach her. Still, the payments continued. Because to Liliana, this was love, not loss. What Liliana didn't know was that she wasn't the only one being deceived. This wasn't one man's mistake. It was an operation. Organized, practiced, ruthless. Her finances were unraveling, piece by piece. Some nights she cried, without knowing exactly why. Somewhere inside her, a small voice kept asking questions she wasn't ready to answer. And every time doubt surfaced, he was there to drown it out with love. So she stayed. She believed, she hoped. Her youngest child began quietly gathering evidence of her transfers. Dates, amounts, patterns. It was all there, if you knew where to look. The children began meeting privately, trying to decide what to do. They knew confronting her directly might push her further away. So the pattern continued, silently, painfully, for another year. The toll on her wasn't just financial. It was showing on her face. She began putting his needs above her own, again and again. Then came a request larger than any before it. This time there wasn't much left to give. So she borrowed. Quietly, desperately, still believing love was worth the cost. It was an ordinary afternoon when her son found the paper trail. Thousands of dollars, sent over years, to a name he didn't recognize. For a moment, he simply couldn't breathe. He called his brother and sister immediately. They needed to talk, now. Together, they laid out everything they'd found. This time, they knew they couldn't stay silent any longer. They sat their mother down, and told her everything they suspected. At first, she refused to believe it. Then, slowly, the walls began to crack. She began scrolling back through years of conversations, seeing them differently now. The excuses, the missed video calls. The investigation moved quickly, piecing together a digital trail. Investigators traced the money, transfer by transfer, account by account. The trail didn't end in Utah. It didn't even end in the United States. It stretched across oceans, through networks built to hide the truth. And Liliana wasn't alone. Dozens of others had fallen for the very same face. Different names, different cities, the same devastating story. Detectives partnered with international agencies to close in on their target. Meanwhile, unaware his walls were closing in, the man behind Lucas kept working. His operation ran like a business, calculated, cold, efficient. Investigators finally uncovered his true identity, hidden behind years of lies. Even the real Lucas, the man whose face had been stolen, hadn't known. With the evidence in place, it was time to act. Before dawn, an international task force prepared to make their move. The operation that had run for years was about to come to an end. He was arrested where he least expected it, inside his own home. Every device, every account, every dollar was seized. Homes he'd built with stolen money were stripped away, piece by piece. Investigators estimated the operation had stolen millions from victims like Liliana. Back in Dallas, Liliana received the call she never thought would come. They had caught him. It was finally, truly over. The process to bring him to justice on U.S. soil began immediately. Liliana was asked to do something she never imagined: face him in court. Her children stood beside her, just as they always had. The trial began in a Dallas courtroom, months after his arrest. Prosecutors laid out 2 years of manipulation, evidence, and deceit. When it was her turn, Liliana spoke. Clearly, bravely, honestly, she told the court everything: the loneliness, the hope, the betrayal. For the first time, he had no script, no fake profile to hide behind. The jury listened to story after story, victim after victim. Liliana was not the only voice in that courtroom demanding justice. The prosecution called it what it was: calculated, prolonged, financial and emotional abuse. After weeks of testimony, the moment of judgment finally arrived. The jury returned, and the verdict was clear: guilty. Liliana closed her eyes and let herself finally exhale. The Dallas court sentenced him to 25 years in prison. 25 years for the years he had stolen from so many others. Outside the courthouse, Liliana's children wrapped their arms around her. For the first time in years, she felt the weight begin to lift. Her story became part of a much larger conversation about romance scams. Justice had been served. But healing was only just beginning. In the months that followed, Liliana began to rebuild, piece by piece. She sought support, allowing herself the space to heal. Slowly, the trust between her and her children was restored. She closed the door on that chapter of her life for good. In time, she found the courage to share her story with others, so they wouldn't fall into the same trap she once did. Her son became an advocate too, teaching others what to watch for. Excuses to avoid video calls, requests for money, stories that never quite add up. If you take one thing from Liliana's story, let it be this: love should never come with a price tag. Real love never asks you to stay silent. She lost money. She lost time. But she never lost her family. And in the end, that made all the difference. Today, Liliana is stronger, wiser, and no longer ashamed of what happened to her. Because the truth is, this could happen to anyone. It happens more than we think. Millions of people fall victim to romance scams every single year. But awareness and the love of family can help someone find their way back. Liliana's story is a warning, but it's also a story of survival. She is not defined by what was taken from her, but by what she rebuilt. This has been the story behind Lucas, and the woman who lived to tell it. If you or someone you love is caught in a relationship that feels off, trust that instinct. It might just save everything. I'm also using this opportunity to tell everyone out there to stay away from crime, because it never ends well. Be careful who you trust online. Be careful who you share your information with. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel for more interesting relationship stories.